tonight I ask you to put aside everything you think you know about the meaning of the events of this Parsha, please. Open your minds to an alternate pshat, if you will. So here we go. So last week, Abraham's wife Sarah died, and she was his princess. That's the meaning of her name, Sarah, princess. Also, his general. A sar is a general, and she was his general, his commander. But she was also Yitzchak's mama, who loved him fiercely and did not like his brother, Yishmael, a mother who loves one son and not his brother. Her absence leaves a hole in the souls of both men, Abraham and Yitzchak. Her absence creates a vacuum in the family and in the saga of Bereshit. Last week, we saw a girl step into and fill this void. Rivka is very beautiful, and she surpasses Sarai in this beauty. And I'm going to share, if I may. This should be it. Oh, look, it's working. Okay, so, all right. So that's just, you don't need that part here. Okay, so here's the first thing. So, oh no, where's all the English? Oh, that's all English. Dang. All right. Sorry about that. This is supposed to have Hebrew and English. All of my, here we go. Sorry. Okay, so here's the first one. I said, Rivka she's beautiful, right? And this should be, yes. And she is Tovat Mar'eh. You have to follow the little arrow. She is Tovat Mar'eh Me'od. She gets a Me'od. She surpasses Sarah, which is down here in the second source. Sarai, remember, Avram says to her, "Oh, yeah, you know what? I know that you are a woman who is Yifat Toar. Not Toar, but Yifat Mar'eh." So we have Rivka is Tovat Mar'eh. Sarai is Yifat Mar'eh. So we're not going to quibble about what's the difference between Tov and Yafeh. That's the point is Mar'eh. Both of them are on the level of Mar'eh, but Rivka gets a Ma'od. Okay, now, there is only one, this is Mar'eh and Mar'eh. And then we have another level of beauty, and that is Toar. It's like there's Mar'eh and there's Toar. So Rivka and Sarah, they only have Mar'eh. They're just Tov Mar'eh or Yefeh Mar'eh, Yefat Mar'eh, and Rivka surpasses Sarai. So some of you will say, well, what about Toar? Well, Toar doesn't come it doesn't come in here at all. So don't worry about Toar here. In fact, the double dose of Yofi or beauty is reserved for whom? Who gets
Yosef.
and
Esther.
just Torah. Yosef, where does he get it from? Rachel, yeah. So here we go. Rachel, you note, is both Yifat Toar and Yifat Mar'eh. She and her son are the only two in Torah who have the double dose. And here's the Yosef quote. No, what did I do with the Yosef quote? I guess I didn't put it in here. All right, but Yosef has the same thing. He and Rachel have the double dose. So we just leave them out of the equation. Okay, so now Rivka is, she steps into that void. This is still from last week. She steps into the void and she fills the hole in Yitzchak's soul. Vayina, oops, I can't do that. I just have to use my pointer. Vayinachem Yitzchak achrei imo. Rivka fills the void of Sarah because she has elements of Sarah in her, more than you might think. Not only does she work this magic for Yitzchak, but she does it for Avraham too, because the next verse in Bereshit chapter 25 is following the description of how Yitzchak reacts to her, is we hear that Avram, comes back to life. He picks up again. He's lost his everything. He's lost his Sarah, but somehow Rivka, is the impetus here to let Abraham pick up his life again. And here we have in verse 1 of chapter 25, Yosef Avram vayikach isha, he gets married again. Her name is Keturah. We won't quibble about who she is. He takes another wife, and she gives him 6 more children. So Rivka has really revived this family that was in grief. Okay? So that's great for her. So Rivka, though, embodies not just Sarah, she also embodies Avraham. There's something Abrahamic about her. 2 things. One is she embodies his, primary trait, chesed. Everybody remembers this, so we don't have to go over that. The whole story of Abraham's chesed is exemplified by when the visitors come and Avram brings them in and he entertains them and his chesed is, overflowing. Rivka demonstrates her chesed when we first meet her, when she comes and the Evan wanted to find a girl just like her. And there she is. She's watering the camels and she's giving him water and she's just running around and being all full of chesed. But there's another aspect of her that is Abrahamic, and that is her willingness, her eagerness to go on a journey far away to a strange land where she knows no one, and she's going to have a new life there. So here we have, just to remind you, Avraham says, well, actually, he doesn't say, God says to Avram, Lech lecha, go. And he goes. Rivka, she takes it one step further in her Avrahamic, other side of her. Remember, this is from last week. The Evet comes and presents his story, the Avraham, Yitzchak, all the la 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 la, and Lavan says, well, we're gonna have to keep her here for a long time and get her trousseau ready. And the Evan says, no, 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 I've got to go right away. And Lavan says, well, let's ask Rivka, what does she want to do? So here I am. This is in source 6. Vayikru Rivka, the family calls Rivka down and they say to her, Hatelchi im ha'ish hazer, you're going to go with this guy? And immediately she says, Elech. So she and Avram are the goers. He has his lech lecha, and she says Elech. So she tops Sarah in beauty. She tops Avraham, you might say. So she embodies both of these people. She has 2 personae in her, we could say. And no more than that, she now in our Parsha today, she asks the hard question. Abraham asked the same kind of hard question. Abraham says to God, you know, what am I doing here? What's going to come of all of this? I went on this journey. I came to this place. I've been doing all this kiruv work, but I'm going to die, and then that's the end of it. What is my like? How can this come to nothing? And God says, "Don't worry, Avram. You're going to have children. You're going to have a son. Da da da." And so Abraham has asked a hard question, and he gets an answer. And our Rivka, she has a hard question because she's finally pregnant and there's just way too much activity going on inside of her. And the ladies that are around her that she might consult with have no answer for her. That there's such turmoil she senses inside of her body, and she says, I have to find out what's going on with me because she says here in this is source 7 in Bereshit 25:22. Vatomer, she says, Im Cain, if this is what it means to be pregnant, this is if this is what it's all about. I feel like I'm going to die. Lama zeh anochi, why am I like this? Why is this happening to me? I waited so long to get pregnant and have children or a child, and I think I'm going to die. I'm not going to even live to see this child born. So why did I come here? Why did I do all this? Vatelech lidrosh et Adonai. She goes to find an answer. She wants to talk to God, like Abraham. She wants to talk to God. And then she does. She thinks she's going to die, and she goes to ask a question. So Rivka, like Abraham, and like the hobbits in Tolkien's Lord of the Rings, wants to know the future. The answer from Hashem is always as ambiguous and indecisive as God's answer to Abraham at the Brit Ben Habitarim, the covenant of the pieces, and I'm not going to take you there now. Everybody remembers that. There's a vision and there's a lot of things going on, and God cryptically says things to Avram that can be interpreted this way or that way or not at all, confusing. And it's just a jumble. It's vague, it's ambiguous, and it doesn't make Avram really feel much better. Rivka too wants to find out. She wants to ask God about the future, and she is going to get an answer that is as ambiguous and as confusing as Abraham's answer. And I didn't type it out, but I'll read it to you. The best, analogy or the best rendition of what it feels like to want to know, ask to be told, and then you're shown or spoken to, or you hear in your head of an oracle, and it's a word salad. What does it mean? And then the question is, what should you do with the prophecy? And so let me take you to the scene with the elf queen Galadriel, where Frodo and Sam want to know the future and they feel that she can show it to them. And so they want to look in her mirror, Galadriel's mirror. And she says to them, many things I can command the mirror to reveal, and to some I can show what they desire to see. But the mirror will also show things unbidden, and those are often stranger and more profitable than things we wish to behold. What you will see if you leave the mirror free to work, I cannot tell you, for it shows things that were, and things that are, and things that yet may be, but which it is that he sees, even the wisest cannot always tell. Do you wish to look? Frodo hesitates. Sam says, yeah, I want to look. And he's frightened by what he sees. And he says, I have to go home. I can't go on the journey anymore. I have to go home because something terrible is happening back home. And Galadriel calms him down and she says to him, remember that the mirror shows many things, and not all have yet come to pass. Some never come to be, unless those that behold the vision turn aside from their path to prevent them. The mirror is dangerous as a guide of deeds. That's Tolkien. And I think that is an apt description of trying to interpret something that you see or hear when you ask God for the future. You will see, you will be told about things that are, things that were, and things that may yet come to be, depending upon what you choose to do now. With this information, do you change your path? Do you try something else? Do you use the information that you think you have to make something come true? And maybe that thing that you want to come true will not come true just because you have been making decisions about it. This is Rivka's dilemma, only she doesn't know it's a dilemma. She's going to hear the answer supposedly to her question. Excuse me. But she's going to act on the assumption that she knows what the future will be. And then she's going to try to, she's just going to wrestle out and, she herself is going to take control of all the situations so that it will come to pass. That's going to be her big problem. But what we have to remember when we listen to the oracle, we have to remember what we learned about the way Hashem works and the way he treats his human beings. What did we learn from the expulsion of Yishmael when Yishmael was sent away in that story? God is dealing with a person as he is now, not what he could become, and perhaps he might become if he is mishandled now. So I take you back to Akedat Yishmael in Bereshit chapter 21. Remember, God heard the voice of the boy crying, and a malach calls out to Hagar and says, you better go take care of him. You go and take care of him right now. Kishama Elohim el kol hana'ar ba'asher hu sham. I do not judge him for what he might do in the future. I judge now. And ba'asher hu sham, you get over there and take care of that boy. This is Rivka's problem. I guess she didn't read that parsha. she wasn't there for Akedat Yishmael. So she doesn't know. She doesn't know. Okay, so let's go to the oracle. What is it that God says to her? So I have shown it here what is this, number 9. Okay, so Bereshit 25, verse 23. It's just one verse. Let's listen to it without paying any attention to what you know because you read Rashi or you listen to the sages of the future, they are going to insert into this oracle what they know thousands of years from now about Edom, the nation of Edom. And they are reverse engineering that back into what they think this oracle means. But we now need to remember Ba'asher Husham. And things that may yet come to be right now have not come to be. So God says to her, Shnei Gimel Yud Yud Mem is the Ktav. That's the way it's written, but the Masoretes said, oh, read that as Goyim. Two Goyim are in your body, in your abdomen. What is a Goy? A Goy is, it doesn't mean a whole nation. It means a group of people. There are two groups of people inside of you. That's strange. Now, are there really two nations inside of you? Or is there the possibility of two nations in the future? Or two peoples? Or two tribes? They don't have to be completely different nations. And Goy is just a group of people. So, two tribes. You will give rise to two tribes. Gee, I wonder if Leah had asked the same question and God had said to her, oh, what is it? Four, five, six, seven. You've got seven goyim in you. That doesn't mean she's got seven children right now. She will give rise to that. That's a possibility. And then, next line, Ushenei leumim mime'ayich yiparedu. And two entities, leumim, goyim, two people will separate at birth when they come out of you. So that's actually a good thing to tell a woman who may come to the conclusion that she has twins, but they will not, when they come out, they'll be separate. They won't be conjoined, which would be freakish and might kill her. So, Shnei le'umim mimaymayach yiparedu can be as simple as, and these two entities will be separate when they're born. These le'umim. And now comes the key. Ula'om, one la'om is a people. Mila'om, ye'ematz. This is a terrible translation. Ye'ematz comes from the word ametz, amatz. Chazak ve'amatz. Chazak means be strong. What does amatz mean? It means be of courage. So ye'ematz is to make courageous, to encourage. One le'om will encourage or get courage, mila'om. These two will work together. They will help each other. They will encourage each other. La'om, mi la'om. One from the other. Not more than, but one gets courage from the other. They are a team. They could work together. That is a radical translation. Yes, but I want you to think about it. Virav ya'avod tza'ir. This is the story of the panda who walks into a bar with a gun and orders a sandwich. He eats the sandwich. He eats the sandwich. He shoots the gun and he walks out of the restaurant just to prove where and when you use commas, you can read it this way or that way. Yes, because he was angry, the panda was angry at a wildlife manual who printed, then the printed description of a panda is eats, shoots, comma, and leaves. No, it should be eats, shoots, comma, and leaves. It eats both shoots like, bamboo shoots and bamboo leaves. All right, now I'm going to try to share my whiteboard and see if it works. And I don't know if it will, because I don't know if it will. Well, I always have trouble sharing um, whiteboards. And there it is. But maybe I just don't have to share it, just may put it up here. And okay, I can't find it anyway. All right, so you know what? You'll just have to listen to this. This is another example, and it's better. I like it. It comes from Lynn Truss's book. Okay. A woman, comma, without her man, comma, is nothing. Now, if we repunctuate that, a woman, colon, without her, comma, man is nothing. It's all in the commas. And here, now Hebrew and in biblical Hebrew has no punctuation at all, and even not even nakudo, not even dots. So it makes it even better. So the last line, Verav Ya'avod Tzair. Which of these words is the object of the sentence? Which of these words is the subject of the sentence? Does the Rav serve the Tzair? Or does the Tzair serve the Rav? And what is Rav and what is Tzair? Now, Rav and Tzair are not opposites. Tzair is a young person, and Rav is not an old person. Rav is many things. Rav can mean, oh, let's see, what can Rav mean? It can mean, uh, it can mean someone who is mature, and not necessarily older, but mature. Rav can mean many or master. So Rav Ya'avod Sa'ir. The many will serve the young one. Is that even talking about Esav? And is this even talking about her babies? Maybe this is talking about a scenario, a scene way in the future. When can you think of many serving the young one?
Yosef.
Debbie? Yosef, sure. Yosef is the young one, and all his brothers, those are the many. And in fact, the many may not even be his brothers. The many are the entire Middle East during the Rav. He's in charge of Egypt. He's in charge of all the food. And Rav, everybody has to come and bow down to him if they want to buy grain. Also, Rav, the master, well, there does come a time when Yaakov, who is the Rav, he comes and he is not subservient to Yosef, but he has to do what Yosef tells him to do. Now, how about large? Rav can mean just large. Can you think of two brothers that are not Esav and Yaakov, because that's not what this is. But in the future, there will be another set of brothers. One of them, again, we're going to have a switcheroo with them, but one of them will give rise to a shevet, which is very large. And yet it will not be the Shevet that produces a number of kings. So the larger Shevet, the more populous one, the one who has more territory, Ya'avod will be subservient to members of the younger, the younger brother,
Reuven. Reuven.
not Reuven, two brothers.
Nasha and Ephraim.
Exactly. Yes. Give that girl a Coke. Yes. Menashe and Ephraim. Menashe is the older one, and he's the biggest Shevet of Yosef. And Ephraim is a smaller Shevet and a smaller territory, but a majority of the leaders, Yehoshua and the Yerovam, and then all the big kings of the north, most of them, a good number of them come from Ephraim. So, Rivka, are we talking about the two babies inside of you, or are we talking about the future? But Rav means something else. We learned from Yechezkel. Anybody? Which would not be the translation here of older or many or large, but mature. Rav, the mature one, Ya'avod, well, we don't know which one, but the Rav here could be meaning the one who is mature or the one who looks mature. If that's what Rivka is thinking, then we might have an explanation for why she reacts to Esav as she does. Now, so let's look at what happens when the babies are born. Okay, so when the babies come out, we have this strange verse. So her term is up, and hine tav vav mem mem, which is vowelized here as tomim bivitna. There were two. There were tomim in her womb. That's translated as twins because I don't know why. Because, well, let's see why it's translated as twins. The first one comes out. He is Admoni. He's ruddy. Kulo ke'aderet se'ar. And he's covered with fur, like an aderet, a mantle. Aderet is a royal robe. If anything, her response could have been probably what Yitzchak was responding to. He saw something that she did not see. She sees something ruddy and covered with fur, hair, but fur, like like an animal. Seir, Se'ar, like a goat, mohair, nice, but still hairy. Vayetze, okay. Vayikru'u Shemo Esav. And it seems like everybody reacted to him and called him Ayin Sam Sin Vav. Asu, already made, done. He's ready made. He's like a grown-up. And he's asu. He's made. He's done already. He's finished. He looks like a little adult, which could be very shocking to the mother, but not. And then after him comes out the brother who is holding onto the heel of the first one, the one who is Esav. Holding him back, well, that's one midrash, or just clinging to him, not wanting to be separated from him. Don't take him away from me. But, he's holding on for dear life to his big brother. Vayikra Shemo Yaakov. One person calls him Yaakov. Is that Yitzchak? it's not, by acclaim, everybody standing around, all the midwives and all, and everybody, oh, look at this one. Somebody calls him Yaakov. God, Yitzchak, we don't know. And Yitzchak is 60 years old. Okay. So if Rivka believes that Rav, as Yechezkel suggests, means mature, if she's got that in her head, then when she sees that first baby come out and he's all mature, she immediately focuses on him. And he's the one, she believes, who must be subservient to the other one, the younger one. And now she's going to change everything she does with these two boys based on that assumption. I mean, think about it. How could you treat, you have two babies. How can you treat one? How can you take, when can you love one and not the other? How do you focus everything in your life on that one? I mean, they're two babies. Why? How could she do that? So I'm going to have to go down to the bottom here to find my Yechezkel, and here it is. Okay. Now, the reason I got getting all excited about Rav and the way Yechezkel looks at Rav, because that's why we hear it on the Seder night. Remember the Israelites in Egypt. Remember, this is Shemot over here. This is source 17. I'm jumping around. But anyway, okay. When Shemot begins, the book of Shemot, we hear about the children of Israel and people, and the Paro says about them, Hine am b'nei Yisrael, these children of Israel, they've become a nation, Rav ve'atzum mimenu. Rav. So the translation in Shemot, you translate it, they'll say they are many and strong. But Yechezkel, on the Seder night, when we take this verse in Seulamad, we have to go and now get a drash on every single word. The drash on Rav is not many, but Yechezkel's drash on Rav. And this is how he understands Rav. Come down here in verse 7, okay? The translation is, I let you grow like the plants of the field. The Hebrew is rivava. You grew up, kitzemach hasadeh, like the grasses of the field, like they grow really fast. And they're mature, they make seeds, and they're done. Like they reach adulthood for a plant very quickly. Rivava. You grew fast, you matured. And now Yechezkel expands on Rivava katzemach hasadeh. V'tarbi, vatigdali, you grew up, vatavoi ba'adei adayim, you matured, you became, mature. So Rivava is growing quickly, like maturing. The Rav Ya'avod Sa'ir, that Rav is not big or old or many. Yechezkel says it's mature. Now, did Rivka know what Yechezkel was saying? Maybe she did, because Yechezkel is giving us a drash on the book of the word in Shemot, and from there we can take it back to the oracle that Rivka heard. And we can surmise that Rivka understood it the way Yechezkel understood it. Why not? Something mature. And then, but listen to what the rest of Yechezkel is talking about in this Rav. He sees the Jewish people in Egypt as a baby that was born and abandoned and thrown away. This is how Yechezkel describes the Am Yisrael, Bnei Yisrael. He says, no one pitied you enough. I'll just do the English. No one pitied you enough to do any one of these things for you out of compassion from chesed. They just left you there on the field, Pnei hasadeh, you were thrown away. Tushlechi is thrown away, not left. You were thrown out like with the garbage. With the garbage. That day you were born. The day Yitzchak and Rivka saw the birth of Esav and Yaakov. I saw you there lying in your blood. You were all red with blood. Esav was born and covered with blood. He was red, covered not in, well, he was covered in blood, but he was really ruddy, very red. And I said to you, this is God speaking, B'damai chayi, you will live, you will live. V'omar lach b'damai chayi, even you are there as you're born with your blood, the birth blood covering you. You are going to live. I will make you live. And then Rivava, he grew up. And the description in Yechezkel is God comes and diapers the baby and cleans up the baby and takes care of the baby. God, the Father. And so for me, it's so striking that this sounds like the birth of Esav. He's abandoned by his mother, and Yitzchak steps in, and Yitzchak is the one who takes care of him. Yitzchak loves him. Rivka puts all her attention on the other son. Okay, so if the uh-oh, we're running out of time. I'm sorry. Okay, but this is the focus here. If this is the truth, or this is a truth, Shnei le'umim mimeach yiparedu, ula'om mila'om ye'ematz. This is a could be. If these two boys were raised together and made to love each other, taught to love each other, taught to take care of each other, taught to work together, what would that mean for the nation that would grow out of them? Instead of having two brothers hating each other, we'd end up with the strength of Esav and the spirituality and the intellectual, acumen of Yaakov. From these two, what a nation there could have been. E pluribus unum. From the many, make one. So each of these lines show a different possibility. These two, yiparedu, they might separate. If you do what you're thinking, Rivka, they will separate. But perhaps you should make sure that they don't separate. Again, how does she know? And the sad part is she never discusses it with Yitzchak. Yitzchak sees her focusing on Yaakov, and Yitzchak, for his own reasons, focuses on Esav. But we have to blame both of them. I mean, there are two parents here, and their parenting, their parenting strategy leaves a lot to question. So, like we said, what does she do with this jumble? She does not talk to Yitzchak about it. She just does what she thinks it means, and she makes it so. And she follows really in the footsteps of her antecedents. Chava doesn't quite get the message straight about what you can eat and what you can't eat. Sarah doesn't get the message straight from Abraham because he didn't tell her or because he didn't explain it, that the baby that Abraham is promised has to come from her. But she has her own ideas, and she introduces Hagar, and and all the disaster that comes from that. And and she also follows in a way, Sarah, pays attention to one of the brothers. Yitzchak and Yishmael are brothers. Sarah focuses on one brother and fosters, willy-nilly animosity between the two, Yishmael and Yitzchak. But we do know God said it's only Yitzchak. So, but it didn't have to be animosity between the two. But I digress. Now, I wanted to focus on this word tomim. It's vowelized here, tomim, and it's translated as twins for want of another translation. Is there any other another set of twins that are born? The only other set of twins in the Torah.
Parrots.
And
Zerah.
Zerah. Yes. And who's the mama?
Tamar.
Yes. So let's go to the Tamar story very quickly. This is Bereshit Lamed Chet. Tamar, who is the daughter-in-law slash wife of Yehuda, for her reasons, she wants to have another child. She wants to have a child, a living child from this family. She gets pregnant from Yehuda, and when she is giving birth, vihine, it's the same. Oh my, amazing! But look at the word, te'omim. It's te'omim. There are two boys there, and one of them is this, and one of them is that. But the word te'omim is spelled tav, aleph, vav, mem, yud, mem. Now look at the word that describes Rivka's babies. Where's the aleph? And where's the yud? This word is missing two letters. And I don't want you to think about what the Midrash says about, well, these twins are defective, like the word is defective. So let's think about it a different way. Maybe this is the word. Te'omim is perhaps the right word. Te'omim, not tomum. This word really is just really tomum. The only other place where we have this word repeated in the Torah is not because of twin people, but it matched amudim, matched column or dowels in their sockets. In the construction of the Mishkan, it's over here.
How is Urim v'Tumim spelled?
Oh, it's tum is this, like this, with the yud. Yes, here it's tumim is tumim with the yud. Yeah. And Urim v'Tumim is, what does that mean? Okay, we're not going to do that. Okay, so the only other places with the Mishkan, this is, and the vowelizing is different. It's to'amim. Vayihiyu to'amim. The two sockets, the two dowels have to be matched, or the two boards have to match because they go into the silver sockets. And so this word to'amim here is translated as match, like twins, especially if they're identical. So they have to match at the bottom, and they are tamim, they match at the top. Oh, great. So we have toamim, tamim, and then for tamar, we have tiomim instead of toamim, and then we have the tomim or the tumim or the tumam. So a lot of that is just nikud. That's the dots. Those are the vowels. And the vowels were determined or codified by the Masoretes 1,000 years from now, from the Torah time. So we don't have to quibble about that, but just looking at the letters, perhaps the divine author is writing tomim like this and wants us to understand that it does mean two, double. There's two there. We have met the word tamim before. No, Noach is an ish tzaddik, and he is tamim. He's not a twin. Tamim is something else. Avram is told to Heye Tamim, try to be Tamim. Now, God is not telling Avram to be a twin. Tamim here means something else. So these letters, Tav, Mem, Yud or not Yud, Mem, are very plastic. They get a little mileage out of it in the Torah, but that's just file that away as a perplexing word. And here, now think again of the description of the boys. Let's go back to they're born, they are tomim. And then when they grow up, Esav is an ish tzayid, ish sadeh. He's out there. He knows how to bring home the bacon. He knows how to feed the family. He's an ish sadeh. He can farm and he can hunt. And Yaakov, let's see. Not all of that. And especially, he is an Ish Tam. I think that the divine author wants us to see the connection between the Tomam and the Tam. He's not described as Tamim. He's not Tamim like Noach or Avram. He's Tam. And I suggest that Yaakov is a twin man. He's an Ish Tam. He's a man, one man with two personae. He's a twin all by himself. He's a person who's a twin. Yaakov didn't want to let go of Esav when they were born. Yaakov wants to be part of Esav. Yaakov wants to be Esav. In fact, Yaakov even puts it in words. He says, when Yitzchak says, "Who are you, my son?" Yaakov says, "Anochi Esav bechorecha." I'm you, I'm Esav. There's something in him of Esav that he wants or he wills. He wants to be Esav, or he wants to be close to Esav. He wants to be a part of Esav. There's something about the image of that baby holding on to his brother as if he didn't want to be separated from him. And Yaakov then, Esav is simple. He's like, what you see is what you get. But Yaakov has two personalities. There's an Esav in him, which he struggles with through his life. Eventually, he does struggle enough he can say at one point, "I am Yaakov, that's my name." But then immediately, God gives him another persona, Yisrael. Note that in the rest of Torah, after Yisrael, Yaakov's name is changed to Yisrael, he does not stop being Yaakov. Sometimes Yaakov is speaking, sometimes Israel is speaking. Sometimes they interrupt each other. There are two entities in Yaakov. Yaakov is Tom. He's a twin. There's two people in there in the one body of Yaakov. First it was Esav, and then Yisrael takes the place. So I mean, this is just my read, but as I said, this is going to be radical reading here. And it does color Yaakov's life. Perhaps if the two of them had grown up together loving each other, that might have made a difference in who Yaakov became. Again, We don't really know. But, well, and we'll never know because Rivka decided to raise them the way she did. Okay, so I just want to finish up with what Rivka, because of Rivka, I believe she is the driver of the whole story. Now let's go to what happens after, well, it's the soup story. So these are not in any particular order. Okay, so we're going to go past Yechezkel and, here we go. Okay, the soup story. Who is behind the soup story? Well, you think about it for yourself, but let's look at it quickly. All right, this is Bereshit 25. Remember, the boys grow up, and we have this scene. It's just a scene, plunked down there. Vayazed Yaakov Nazid. And Esav comes in from the field, and he's exhausted. He's tired. He's the one out there. He's the one who's working in the field and or hunting. So he's put in a day's work. He's exhausted. He comes in and he says to Yaakov, who seems to be, well, cooking a stew. Is yazed the verb for cooking? No, not any elsewhere in Tanakh does somebody cook with this verb, vayazed. Nazid, a stew, also, nah. These words are these two words are connected. Yazed Nazid. This is a plot. This is a plan. These two words come from the word you do know.
Mazid.
Mezid, right. A sin that you do that you don't remember, that you don't know, that you don't think about, that's the shogeg. But the chet that you do on purpose with
Deliberately.
with forethought. That's what this is. Yaakov is plotting a plot. He knows what's going to happen, and he's setting a trap. He's setting up his brother. He's taking advantage of him. He comes in and he's thirsty and he's tired and he's exhausted and he says, Haliteni na, can I please have some of that stuff? I'm so tired, I'm exhausted. Now, if you're a good brother, if you were taught by your mother, chesed, what would your reaction be to your brother who is doing all the work around here? Here, sit down, have a bowl of soup. Just don't worry, just sit down and I'll take care of everything. No, he doesn't do that. He says, well, you got to give me something for this. You got to sell me something. Asaph isn't even listening to what he's saying. Whatever you say, fine, good. Okay, I don't care. I don't care what you're talking about. I'm too tired and too thirsty and hungry to think about what you're saying. That's taking advantage of your brother. Where did Yaakov learn to do this? Who put Yaakov up to this? My suggestion is
Rivka.
it's Rivka, because she wants to make the oracle come true. And she's operating, everything she does is trying to make that come true. And she makes a mess. Even if he is cooking this stew, notice at the end of this, at the scene, Yaakov gives Esav bread and the adashim. Where'd the bread come from? Who makes the bread?
Rivka.
Rivka. There's hints here. There's something wrong here. There's something really wrong here. And that's why I was saying Rivka starts out being this, paragon of chesed, but by the end of the story, what happened to her? That's what I have to, we have to close it down with what happened to her. At the beginning of the story, she was the girl of Chesed. How could she encourage one brother to take advantage of his trusting, open, plain-spoken brother Esav? Is this Chesed to trick your thirsty brother who brings home food? Brothers should take care of each other. Ulaom milaom ye'ematz. These two boys should take care of each other so that their descendants will take care of each other. And again, in this story, the answer to the question of the book of Bereshit and the whole Torah is Hashomer Achi Anochi. Am I my brother's keeper? You better answer that the right way. And if you don't, there will be tragedy.
But look at who Rivka's brother was.
Why?
I'm saying Lavan, right? That was a bad, right?
Oh, I don't know. Lavan is Lavan. Let's look at Rivka.
Right. I'm saying she had a bad model of a brother.
Again, yes. So,
Mhm.
look at Abraham came from,
Mhm.
Abraham, and that's why Abraham and Rivka are cut from the same very expensive cloth, right? Abraham, he lech lechaz, and he's full of chesed. Did he learn chesed from his family? Perhaps. Not everybody is totally evil. And remember, there's Lavan in the family, but there's also Milcah and Nahor. There's, great great grandma is Sarah's, putative sister. So you could say that, but Rivka isn't like that. She doesn't learn from him. She has the chesed, and she says, "Elech, I will go." And then, but something went wrong. I don't know what went wrong.
I missed the beginning of your shir. What does Galandriel's, whoever that is, mirror have to do with Rivka?
Sure. Galadriel is the elf queen in the Lord of the Rings. She is she knows everything and she has a special mirror. And if you want to look into the mirror, you may see things, you see things. If you come to the mirror and ask the question, what should I do, or what is my future? And things appear in it which are, you can't tell if you're seeing something that will be, or that was, or that could be, but it might not be. It's the metaphor. It's Tolkien's version of the oracle at the beginning of Rivka's story, when she goes to seek an answer to the question, why is this happening to me? I wanted a child. I waited so long. I came to this land. I gave up my home. I gave up everything. I came here. I thought I was on a mission. I thought I was going to accomplish something, and I think I'm going to die. That I just feel like this is going to kill me. What's wrong with me? That's Galadriel.
Right. So
So
Galadriel's mirror is basically a mishmash of past, present, and future. And so the implication, I think, what you're drawing the comparison is that the oracle was so inexact that depending on who's doing the peering into the oracle or Galadriel's mirror, you can either say past, you could either predict future, or you could say present. It's enough of an ambiguous uh, prophecy that it depends on essentially who's doing the seeing.
right, and then she warns, remember, she warns that the mirror is dangerous as a guide of deeds. To take what you see in the mirror and then make a decision about how you are going to proceed is dangerous because you can make things worse. And things that you see in the mirror that you think are going to happen may not happen just because you interfere in a way that you would not have done had you not looked in the mirror. Perhaps that's why she, why else would she abandon a baby? How can you do that? Think about it. What possessed her to turn away from one of her children and focus only on the other one?
According to our tradition, she went to the yeshiva of Shem V'Aver to ask the question. It wasn't just a witch somewhere.
Oh no, this is no witch. No, no,
Right.
no, no, no. She went and asked Hashem.
Right.
Vayidrash. She asked Hashem. And as I said at the beginning, put aside everything you believe that you know because you learned it in school, that this is the only way to look at this. The pshat is still sitting there. And there are, as I said, this is an alternate way of reading it. You don't have to take it, but I wish that you would think about it and entertain the idea of what would have happened had she consulted with Yitzchak, had she done nothing. Wait, watch and wait and see. Or she,
I've always had the impression that of all the characters in Chumash,
Mhm.
the rabbis don't, how should I put it, turn a character around more than they do with Aesop. We're all taught that Aesop is a Russia, but if you read the Chumash, uh, he's not a Russia. If you don't bring your what you and if boy learned in Hebrew school and approach the text to it other, you get a different view. And if I can add one more point, w- w- I
Yeah.
heard a drasha just last week.
Okay.
I'm not going to say
Mhm.
who it was, but it happened to somebody I knew as a kid, and he is one of the thinking about the output boy of anti-Semitism. He said, "We all know that Yaakov and Esau were were destined to be enemies for all eternity." And I don't know at all that that's true.
Yes, yes. It's it is the sages they took the Edom that they know. That's that they all they know is Edom. And that's then the Edom, the nation of Edom descended from Esau. And so they take what they know, the Edom that they know, and they stup it into the text. And that's how they read the text. I'm not faulting them, but we have to recognize that. They are not following the Ba'asher Husham dictum. That's for sure. They are reading what happened at the end of history or at their time, and they're reverse engineering it back into this story. And I'm trying to say this, what ended up didn't have to be. Every king, I mean, think of David HaMelech. He's described as Admoni, and he's a fighter, and he's aggressive, and he makes a lot of mistakes. and he needs a Navi to pull him back. It's like David is, he's got some Esav in him, and that's a good thing. To make a nation, you need to have people who know economics and people who can go out into the field and work. You need the workers. You need the people who know how to do things, get things done. Asu. You have to have the doers and the executors. And then you have the people who are more intellectual, more philosophical, the planners. You get the people who sit in the back room, Yoshev Ohel, and they figure things out. And then they have executors, people who go out and do. That makes a successful organization. If you have only thinkers or only doers, you need them both together. It's a recipe for a great nation. It didn't come out that way. So it got all wiggy woggy and then you have to have then Yaakov has to do it all on his own. And then with the four wives and then his family is all, they're at each other's throats. So, it it could have been. It's a what if. It could have been this way. And then we wouldn't have Esav as an enemy. And the same thing with Yishmael. Okay, Yishmael was born, but the way he was, you know, treated uh, made, gave us all the problems we have today. What if things had been different? I mean, that's the story of humanity. What, what if things go a different way? So, one more. Yes. Oh, please go
Yeah.
ahead.
First of all, they
Pardon?
always blame the mother, right? But what do you think if, would you entertain the idea that God wanted it to work this way so that we could learn the lessons we needed to learn? Because had it not done this way, we wouldn't have had the rest of the Torah.
But as who is it said? Does anybody ever learn the lesson? How many lessons have we had over thousands of years? I don't I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm
He
not sure
puts it
anymore.
out there for us to see it anyway. And if,
True, but
if we
yeah.
learn the lesson, we learn it. If not,
Yeah.
we don't.
Well, it's Yitzchak saw what happened. Well, Yitzchak didn't take another wife because he saw what a second wife can do. That's true. He did learn that lesson. But I don't know. There's Yitzchak is so like otherworldly. I can't really blame him too much. Although I do blame them a little. Yes, there's blame here. We can go down the list. Why did they wait so long? Why did they not marry those boys off earlier? You know, Asap's 40 years old and nobody's getting a wife for him. So he went out and got a wife from, one of the local girls. Oh no, then he finds out they don't like the local girls. Yitzchak knew himself he wasn't supposed to marry a local girl. Why didn't they send back to Padan Aram for wives for their sons earlier? Maybe that might have helped, but they didn't. So there's all kinds of questions of what if, what if, what if? Why did they do that? Why didn't they do something else? Think about this. One more thing to think about. At the end of the soup story, in the middle of the soup story, when Asa says, "Oh, let me have some of that red stuff, adom adom," and then the verse is, and that's why they call him Edom. He's not called Edom at the beginning when he's born and he is Admoni. And it's not they called him Edom, it's he called him Edom, Vayikra. Who called him Edom? Try this one on. Hashem, the divine author, calls him Edom. And all throughout Tanakh, his descendants are called Edom. Every time you read his name, you should think about that story. It all started there. He's Edom. And the enmity, that's where they went like this. They bifurcated.
Edom is red, Edom is blood. And yes, that aspect maybe Hashem wants to highlight.
Or that's one way. That's the usual. That's the party line. And I'm suggesting perhaps there's another subtext. Edom. He's Edom. And don't forget what you did to him.
Because of the deceit.
Yes, yes. How he was treated then. Yaakov tricked him. Yaakov took advantage of him. Esav is, as I said, he's just so, open. And one more book I want to recommend to you if you're interested in an alternative to the Yaakov Esav story. This book is called Wrestling Jacob by Rab Shmuel Klitzner, Klitsner. He made Aliyah years ago, but I've known him since we were kids. And this book is terrific. Just thin book, but he does a wonderful analysis of Esav v. Yaakov. So I just recommend that. Any other comments? I know I've dumped a lot on you to think about, but I wish you would.
Yeah,
Go
can I
ahead,
say one
Wendy.
thing? I think this is really a radical reading. I appreciate it. I think that we can look throughout the story of Tanakh, of certainly Bereshit, just based on the Pshat, and we can learn so many very unflattering things about people that are our heroes that we're supposed to learn from. I've never heard this interpretation before. I guess the Pshat supports it. And the fact is, I think there's also a principle that it's the first time you see a word in Tanakh. That's what everything else is based on. So this is the first time we're seeing Tomim in Tanakh. I'm like, is that correct? The root.
Well, the first time we see the word
Oh, with Noah, we
Tomim,
see Tamim.
that's
Okay, so
Tamim.
we can take it from Noah. And anyway, kudos to you, really. Yasher kochech. Really, nice
Thank
job. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. All right. Any other questions? You can throw as many stones as you like.
I think it was a beautiful Dvar Torah. I
Thank
must
you,
say.
Girish.
As always, amazing. I learned so much. Great.
Thank
I
you.
would say I noticed that Ani Esav B'chorecha Asiti. I have done what you told me to do. Asiti, I have acted as Esav.
Oh, beautiful.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, because Yitzchak he wants to be Esav. Now, Shmuel points out that Yitzchak is so, he's so closed, he's so tight, and he's so introverted. He can't relax. And Esav is everything that he is not.
He's not.
Esav, that's why Yitzchak loves him, because he's everything that Yitzchak knows he can't be. He just is so tightly wound. And so and Yitzchak, excuse me, Esav is the one who supports he supports the family. Now Yitzchak does become a farmer. Rav Yoel ben Nun, insists on looking at Yitzchak as not being so, frazzled by the Akedah that he can't do anything else. He sees him as a farmer. And Yitzchak is also an Ish Sadeh. He's a farmer too. So Yitzchak and Esav are working together. And where's Yaakov? Why isn't he out here with us?
It says he's taking care of the livestock. It says that.
That's if you read Yoshev Ohalim to mean a shepherd or a husband.
Right.
But but there really is no basis for that.
And you see how clever he is with Lavan, with the sheep. He knows what he's doing. Let's
Oh
give
yeah.
Yaakov more credit than
Okay,
you're
well,
giving
no,
him.
just because he's not, he's a thinker. That's the whole deal. He is clever. He is manipulative. He is clever. He's the one. That's what you need Esav and Yaakov together. Yaakov does the thinking, and Esav does the doing. Then that's a recipe for the dynamic duo. This is it could have been. It's just that it could have been. And then Edom wouldn't be our enemy. Now, and one last thing, where do the Edomim live?
Seir.
Yeah. Well, what's it? It's the topography and the the underlying geology. Sandstone, redstone. In fact, the center of the Edomite nation is where now today is Petra, the rock.
Well, that's why it's called Edom.
Oh no.
That's what called Edomites, right?
Well, why is the area is called, no, they're Edom. Because of this, I would say because of the soup story, or then they live in Seir, but they're the dominant, feature of the landscape for one very central part of their region are the red stones, the red stones of those mountains. And Petra is carved out of that. And Petra
Yeah.
is what is Petra? The stone.
But
I
not a
heard,
red stone, but not a red stone, if you
no, it's just the stone. Petra
Like
is the Greek, Petra is Greek for
petrified. You have the word petrified.
stone, right? It's the Greek word for stone. Petra is the stone. Take that and read, and then use that to reread Al Naharot Bavel. Not the beginning, but the end. And the Selah that is mentioned in that Tehillah is not the,
Shamni patsnu.
yeah, where and the who is who why would they put that in there? Because the story of Amatzia the king, who did a terrible, terrible thing to the Edomim when he hadn't gotten to a battle with them. It's a story in the Book of Kings. I don't think we have time to go into that tonight, but I urge you can just Google Amatzia, the king Amatzia. You can do it in Wikipedia, or you just go look into a concordance. You look up Amatzia, King Amatzia, and read what he did in his life. There was a big battle, and he took 10,000 Edomi soldiers, and he threw them off the top of Petra and killed them. And the Edomi never forgot that. And that's why at the end of Al Naharot Bavel, we hear about the Edomim. They were like onlookers at Chorban Bayit Rishon. And their famous line was, Aru, Aru, Ad HaYesod. They were egging on the Babylonians, destroy it down to its foundation because and then read the rest of the Tehillah, having to do with, and we're angry at them because they stood by and screamed that, and now we, Al Naharot Bavel, we would like the same thing. We would like to smash their children on the rock, Hasela. They're still talking about that thing, this animosity between Edom and Yaakov, and it just keeps getting worse and worse. And so Amatzia, the king of Yehuda, commits an atrocity with the Edomites. And then they turn around and are really, Schadenfreude at the Chorban Bayit. And then when we come back, Shivat Zion, we're still angry with them, and we want to recreate the Amatzia scene. It's like a never-ending cycle, and it's I don't know. It just gets me really upset.
It's possible that the soup that Yaakov gave Esav was made from a red beet, borscht. And that would explain why it's
Okay.
described as
Gershon.
Ramava Hakutzemach Hatzadeh.
That epitomizes what the sages do when they take what they know in their life and they retrofit it into the text. That's perfect. It must have been borscht. Yes.
Thank you.
Love it.
Shabbat shalom. Thank you.
Okay, guys.
Thank
Thank you for
Thank
coming
you.
and staying.
Thank you very much.
Thank all of you. Okay. Enjoy.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom and Chodesh Tov.
Yes, yes. Okay.
Bye-bye.